The creative industry is always looking for what's hot and what's trending at the moment. And brands, they're always looking for ways to innovate and to feel fresh for the audience. And in motion design, we see those trends coming and going all the time. Nowadays, we can say that we are in a really nice moment in time where we have a lot of possibilities. So come with us as we show you what's trending in the world of commercial animations. Hey there, I'm Raf, and together with me is Philippe. We are the founders of MOWE, the creative studio that brings ideas to life for animations and motion graphics made with purpose. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button so you can stay on top of more strategic insights in animation.
So your brand wants to stay on top of the hottest trends and better connect with customers without, of course, losing touch of its core visual signature. We talked before about how to adapt trends to your visual communication strategy, and you can go check it out on this card up here if you want to check our previous video on topic. Once our team understands how to use trends as inspirations to keep your brands with a unique visual representation, it's easier to use trends to your advantage.
Like a couple of years of 2D and then a couple of years of 3D being the main style. We always had both of them, but like one of them was always ruling over the other. And inside those waves of 2D and 3D, we also had more defined styles. So for example, 2D, we had the flat sign, and then we had a big chunk of productions that focus more on the cell animation. On 3D, we had a lot of isometric views with balls and kind of balls running around, hitting things, and kind of just doing kind of a motion design kind of style, but over a 3D style. And also we had a lot of overlays, a lot of transparency, a lot of things trying to mimic glass. So like those are trends that we had before. So trends within the trends. And today, like, we have so much more going on that we don't actually have a 2D over a 3D, like kind of everything merged into a big style. So nowadays you can see things from 2D like merging with 3D in terms of like trying to bring brushes into 3D or distortion of characters, like putting smears on 3D, and then also things from 3D coming to 2D, kind of bringing the volume up through of 3D to 2D and so on. So right now we are in a really interesting situation that we have demand for both 2D and 3D teams, and almost always they're like the projects are becoming kind of an unrecognizable style of like 2D over 3D.
Yeah, but of course, when we talk about trends, one thing that is important for us to recognize and try to understand is where those trends are born, like how they are born actually. And around like motion design, animation, and especially in the past trends that we saw, what you just said, Raf, between 2D and 3D, a lot of those trends, they come with the evolution of technology. So when we had like the 3D rendering become more accessible, more easily to be done with a single computer without needing render farms, we start to see this boom of 3D as a style. When the digital way of cell animation became more popular and accessible, we start to see more of the cell animation surging and appearing. So it's easy for us to also say that the trends most of the time in our industry, they just follow what the technology allows us to be more accessible or easily doable. A new feature that After Effects launched, the Cinema 4D launched, a new render engine that makes like the whole process much more easy to produce and to ship. But at the same time, if you think about some trends that you're gonna see on this year, if you think about, couldn't we have those like 10 years ago? It's really hard to tell because probably you could, but it would demand much more computer power, much more people power. And of course, you'll be able to produce the same results that we have today, but taking much more time, a lot of more people, which would be more like isolated situations instead of actually a trend that is easily replicable by a lot of studios, about a lot of motion designers. And just following the technology stuff, we can also talk about like how motion design animation is navigating through NFTs, AR, VR, all those technologies that appeared more in the recent years And of course, with this, it shakes the industry, and you start to see companies demanding more of this type of projects. Companies investing more on developing their NFT collections, their VR projects, their AR projects. So it's easy to understand that a lot of the things we do visually, even though it's just like a creative output, it follows what technology has been giving us in the past months, the past years. Yeah, and all this evolution of technology and adoption of technology within the trends we see within the visual outputs, we can see this easily being represented by the mismatch style, which is at the same time is one of the trends we have nowadays. It's basically the combination of those different styles. So we don't have a defined trend that is like everyone is following the same visual style, is maybe replicable. We have nowadays much more of this mismatch. So we get things from one style matching with the other style. This is really like the basis of what more recent motion graphics, motion design is. That is this mixture of sometimes you have 2D, sometimes you have 3D, mixturing flat style with more dirty brush, minimal with maximalism, and you have all this coming together. So mismatch has been something we're seeing like more recently being used over and over again, and then also not only in the commercial animation part, but also we could see on future films and series like the Spider-Verse, Arcane, where we can see the different styles combining there. And this also is a reflection of the influence of motion design and motion graphics being applied to this type of project, this type of media that usually they only had a single style, a single way of defining, the visual for the movie, for the film. And now this combination of style helps to make it more rich and give more life to a single piece.
And we also see another trend that combines the art and animation, which is the one that is highly influenced by what we can call it like the light and space movement from the art movement that use a lot of they're usually more environmental things, like environmental pieces that use light to create visuals that are unique and that bring volume to spaces in a different way, and always using light and shadow to adapt the spaces around them. So we see this trend happening a lot on 2D, and almost like the 2D drinking a bit of the 3D volume. So we see a lot of use of gradients to create artificial lights, to create the light and the shadow over objects, to adapt and alter backgrounds as well. And the intention of this is to give the artist new ways of guiding the viewer into telling stories and to create this world of possibilities in terms of explainers and commercial animations. At the other side of the spectrum, we have Joyism, that kind of brings color, brings happiness, brings kind of a surprise effect to things. And we think that this is a lot of kind of a reflection to the world that we have been living. So there is researchers that say that if you stop just to kind of look at your parents' house or your grandma's house and then compare to what you see nowadays in interior design magazines, everything nowadays is white walls, or even white walls and gray walls. Everything really is simple, and you might have some splash of colors in paintings, but overall everything is too minimal. And we haven't been seeing this maximalism happening in fashion and interior design, and also in graphic design. We also see this as a reflection that got even more powerful after COVID, after everybody being locked down and having to kind of so many years of kind of adapt. So Joyism is kind of an attempt to bring happiness and color to the world again. And we see this happening a lot in animation, a lot in graphic design. And we also don't see this disappearing in the near future, because I think that the world is needing, especially climate change. We have so many problems that having this joy and this fun twist to things is something that we see growing more and more with the years.
So what trends do you see being hugely adopted? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to follow us and turn on the notifications for more insights and tips on animation strategy. See you in the next video.